And now on Radio Flange Goblet, the after-movie diner. And I'd like to tell you more, but sadly there's something on my face and the salad tongs are just out of reach. Hi, regular diner listeners, and I know we normally just jump straight in with the conversation these days, but a quick message to explain this week's episode, because it's something of a special and awesome episode. Last week, my good friend Jay Mayo, who is a stand-up comedian from Massachusetts, and hopefully you will have heard me as a guest on his show, Hold the Mayo podcast, which is available on iTunes and Libsyn and all over the place. Please do check out Hold the Mayo podcast on Twitter and online and all over the place. If you haven't already, that's Hold the Mayo podcast. Check it out, please. You may have heard me as a guest on his show. If not, he's a stand-up comedian from Massachusetts. He put on Facebook at the beginning of last week, hey, who wants to go on a road trip? And I thought, yeah, I would like to go on a road trip. So I said yes. Anyway, we frantically, over the course of the week, formulated this plan, and on Friday I took a bus to Boston. We then drove up to New Hampshire, and the next morning we woke up in North Conway and we went to the Stairway Cafe and recorded the conversation you're about to hear about the movie Tromas War, which we watched the night before in a motel. So that's what you're about to hear this week. It's a fantastic episode. And this is what sort of the After-Movie Diner on tour is going to all be about. It's going to be about going to these different states, these different places, meeting up with friends or fans of the show or previous guests of the show or people I haven't met yet but I know really well online, those kind of people. And eating in their local cafes, eating in their local diners, and recording a show and then bringing it to you. That's what the Diner Tour is going to be about. This is a first taste of what that might be like. And I have to say, I'm hooked. I can't wait to do more. So let's make 2016 the After-Movie Diner Tour year if we can. That would be fantastic. And obviously, there are ways to donate and support the show, buy albums and all that. So please, please, please do that. Anyway, without further ado, enjoy this fantastic conversation. Hello and welcome to a very, very special After-Movie Diner. As Jay Mayo and myself here, what would you say, New England's foremost stand-up comedian.
I'll take that.
Yeah, New England's... Thanks so much. New England's foremost stand-up comedian Jay Mayo and I are sat here in the Stairway Cafe in North Conway, New Hampshire. And we're sat out on the, well, it's sort of like a balcony veranda type thing, overlooking the White Mountains. Is the White Mountains?
Yes, it is.
You can hear the bell of the train in the background. You can hear traffic going by. And this is just incredible. And what film are we talking about today, sir?
We were talking about Tromas War.
Tromas War. And so why don't you give us a bit of background? How did you get into Troma movies, too?
Oh, Tromaঃ, the wonderful film company Tromaঃ, used to air on one of the local ABC, NBC affiliates or whatever it was in the Boston area, and they used to do...
Do you folks know what you'd like right here? Gentlemen?
Not yet, no, just about another 30 seconds, thanks.
All right. Can I give you guys drinks?
They used to do
Coffees?
monster movies and that kind of thing, and then they transitioned to only playing Tromaঃ movies late nights on like a Friday night.
Nice.
So I used to, as a kid, I used to watch all these Tromaঃ movies. Every Friday night, try to stay up as late as possible, try to stay up till midnight or whenever they were on, and watch all these old movies. So that's sort of how I fell into falling into love with Tromaঃ, and I've just sort of followed the progression throughout the years.
And when did you first see Tromas War?
Oh, probably 1997 or somewhere around there, I would assume.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have the elk wild game sausage.
Yeah.
I've never had elk sausage before, but I'm going to have a wild game sausage breakfast.
I think I'm also going to have wild game sausage, but I may go with the wild boar.
Nice. That's what I'm going to have. I'm going to try elk sausage here. That's incredible. It's good work. I love all the bikers though. Look at what is she driving? That's like a three-wheeler but in reverse.
Right, yeah.
Two wheels are at the front. You really could never fall off that thing. You know
I would hope not.
Yeah, right. She just hasn't taken the stabilizers off
You
yet.
get like
Training wheels, right? That's what you guys call them?
Yes. I've seen those types of motorcycles before, but it doesn't really make sense to me.
No.
I mean,
But that's not being a cycle. You can't
No.
you can't pull up at a biker's rally.
One more
No.
thing goes over.
And-
All set to order, gentlemen.
Yes.
yeah.
What can I get for you?
Wild game sausage breakfast. Can I have the elk sausage, please?
So besides the 5 listed in the bottom of the first page, I also have rabbit with white wine and pheasant with cognac.
Oh, then
Just
she
to make
pulls
that
the
easy.
pheasant out there just to make it.
Sorry.
No, I'm going to go elk because I've eaten pheasant
You
before. I'm
got
going to go
it.
elk.
How
That's
would you like
great.
your eggs prepared?
Scrambled is good.
Home fries, vegetarian baked beans, or homemade applesauce?
Home fries is good.
White wheat rye, or for an additional 99 cents, homemade cranberry focaccia.
Right, please.
And for you?
I'm also going to have the wild something sausage breakfast. I'm going to do the boar.
How would you like your eggs?
Over easy.
Home fries, baked beans, or applesauce?
I'm going to go with the baked beans.
White
Nice.
wheat rye, or the homemade cranberry focaccia?
Wheat.
You got it. Take the menus for you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's the second time you've done that, though, dude. That's the second time you've gone for something that a Brit should go for, baked beans.
Yeah, I love baked beans.
Last night you had the fish and chips, today you're having the baked beans.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We've swapped.
Well, that's okay. Maybe I'm just jealous of your culture.
How would you like your eggs?
I doubt it, dude. There's nothing really
a
to
little
be jealous
bit. I'm a
of.
little bit. I'm not jealous that you had to put on 12 gallons of
Sun cream.
suntan lotion
Just to come
today.
out today. Right. That's because otherwise I would spontaneously combust.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, I suppose.
Or get a tumor, either one.
Yeah. You don't want to turn into a lobster today.
Thanks, guys. You're welcome.
Right, so why don't you give us those? You've seen it many times. Why don't you give us the rundown? Bear in mind we're in polite society.
Right.
The rundown
I-
of the storyline of Tromas War.
I will give you the elementary school version.
The PG-13
The PG,
version.
yeah. Well, maybe just the PG, not even PG-13.
Right, let's not go crazy.
Tromas War synopsis. Okay, so a bunch of people are in a plane. The plane crashes on a remote island.
It's kind of like Lost.
Kind of like Lost. The survivors of the crash decide to inevitably search around the island to figure out where they are and how they can get out of there, and they come across a militia.
Right.
And once the militia realizes that there's people there, that's when all the shooting happens.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of shooting.
Right.
The original airing of this movie took out quite a bit of the violence and some of the subplots to the movie, but the general synopsis is that you find out that all of this militia is a group of terrorists from around the world, different terror organizations from around the world.
And he lists them off, and they're all the very like 80s terror organizations.
you know, the Libyans and whatever, all the terrorists that we don't necessarily worry about anymore, that don't seem to be terrorists anymore.
Right. Didn't he say the PLF or something at one point?
Yeah. So they find out that these terrorists want to end up taking over the world by sending these terror groups to the United States, and they're going to infiltrate and they're going to wreak havoc. And so this is their training ground. This is where they're training all the terrorists to do all their terroristy things.
And they're under the misguided notion that these clearly like tourists who have crash landed because they're all like middle-aged, crazy people in variety of dress. They reckon they're all
commandos.
Commandos, right? That's it. Yeah.
And that they're there to stop their terrorist plot.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous if you see the collection of people that they have clearly strewn together.
Yeah. Well, you would think ridiculous, but by the end of it, they have become an elite commando.
Yeah, they're Delta Force by the end of it.
Oh yeah, by the end of it, any one of them could take Chuck Norris down.
Right. Yeah. So we go through the whole, you know, they're basically end up hunting each other.
Right.
Some of the people get caught, some of the people get away. You know, a handful of the survivors of this plane crash end up being these elite combat veterans and what have you. So
one of them was in airborne.
Yeah, he was in Vietnam. He was a Vietnam vet from whatever the airborne division, and some of the other people conveniently already had weapons on them. I don't know how that would have worked out going through airport security with a blowgun.
Oh yeah, one of them had a blow dart. An English guy who was like kick-ass.
He was,
which I have to say I fully appreciated. That they said, well, we're going to have this disparate group of people, we're going to make the Wall Street guy the wimp,
Right.
and we're going to make the British dude in the white suit this like kick-ass
James Bond type.
karate type with a blow dart strapped to his shin. Because of course none of us travel anywhere in the world without a blow dart strapped to our chin.
Well, yeah.
I'm packing right now.
As well you should be. So they hunt each other. They go back and forth. Some people get captured. Many people get shot. And that's sort of how it all works out in the end.
Right. And there's the usual Troma diversions. There's a guy with a pig face.
Right, yeah.
He's like half man, half pig. Never explained.
No. Lots of gore.
Lots of gore. Lots of
nudity.
It's pretty bad. It was the most expensive movie, and I think remains the most expensive movie Troma has ever made. Right?
Yeah, it was. They had a $3 million budget, which is probably $2,750,000 more than they normally would have.
Else, right.
So yeah, it was quite expensive, and you could tell. I mean, there was a lot of action scenes where you're like, all right, I can tell that was probably expensive. There was 2 different hovercraft in the film. There was lots of.
They blew up a boat and a truck.
Yeah.
There was multiple explosions. There was multiple. I think a lot of the money, of course, also went to the stuntmen because you can't while Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz it is Michael Hertz, isn't it?
Yes.
Are notorious apparently for not paying anyone anything. The one thing you can't do is not pay stuntmen who are, and not have insurance and all that. Like all the stuff that Hollywood movies have to have because, they've got stuntmen, through the nose, they've got dangerous explosions, they've got all this stuff. The insurance is therefore very, very high on all this stuff and you have to pay a lot of premiums. It feels like Lloyd may have done that on this one.
Yeah, I don't know that they could have gotten away with, when they do some of their other bigger hit movies, the Toxic Avengers and movies like that, it's all sort of based around one character and you can kind of get away with,
Also, he's in heavy makeup. If you had to cover a dummy, if you had to make a dummy look like the Toxic Avenger, so you threw him off a rooftop.
No big deal. Right.
But
there was a huge cast. There was tons and tons of extras. And
massive ensemble cast, clearly filmed. Well, I mean, I suppose it could have been filmed on a coastline somewhere. It doesn't have to be an island. It could have been a cove of Florida or somewhere that it was filmed. But it was clearly like they took over, some tropical-looking woodland area.
Right.
What I mean is, it didn't look like it was filmed in a backyard in Jersey. You know what I mean? It looked like they'd actually gone somewhere and filmed it.
Sounds like pretty similar to
and the benefit that these 70s and 80s, or the benefit that Troma had about in the 70s and 80s with their movies was that everyone had to shoot on film because there wasn't sort of video cameras in the way that there are now. There certainly wasn't the digital video stuff that there is now. So something like Toxic Avenger looks like a real movie because it's shot on film.
Sure.
Whereas nowadays, if it was made, it would be shot on video, probably not particularly very good video, and it would immediately stand out as an independent movie.
Right.
Whereas the benefit of the reason why the first sort of 20 years of Troma seems to stand side by side with other movies, not the content, but the actual look of them, or the fact that they could look a bit more polished, was that everyone had to shoot on film.
Yeah.
So
you didn't have a choice.
Right, so film was cheaper to develop. There were way more developing houses, certainly in the Northeast around New York and New Jersey, where they're based, right? They're based in New Jersey?
Yeah, they're Tromaville, New Jersey, to be specific.
So that's the benefit. And this looked like anyone who's seen any of the second-tier Rambo knockoff action movies of the 80s, of which there were thousands, this looked like one of those. And it would sit alongside one of those very nicely. There was crane shots, there was tracking shots, there was dolly shots. Like, it looked professionally done. There was no point, apart from things like the boat blew up before the truck hit it, which is just a timing issue and just that is we have one chance to do this stunt. We don't have spare boats, we don't have spare trucks, we've just got to blow this thing up. And then all of a sudden, if it goes wrong, that's the one you've got. You can't really do that. So, there's a few little production issues like that, but apart from that, it looked pretty good, I thought,
Absolutely.
production-wise.
Yeah.
And the acting's pretty strong. I mean, you get the odd, like I said to Jay halfway through, I think maybe the guy's dressed up as half a pig because he's a bit of a ham. Because, you get the slightly overacting, the Tromas style.
Right, but that
belted to the cheap seats.
Yeah, that's exactly in line with how TromaÄ would normally do a movie. I know that they spent a lot of time and money on this particular movie. This was supposed to be like their big budget hit movie, but it's still very much a TromaÄ movie in that the acting is a TromaÄ movie. As serious as most of the cast is throughout most of the script, there are still ridiculous. There's a guy with a pig face that snorts the whole movie, and there's little things. There's reoccurring characters that you've seen in every TromaÄ movie, and there's little things that you can tell like this is certainly this is a TromaÄ movie. They didn't go so far off script so that you wouldn't know it was a TromaÄ movie.
Right, well, that's what made me laugh, is that, but also, gave me the, more respect for them. I've always, the weird thing is I've always respected TromaÄ, and I've always liked TromaÄ for what they've done and for what they've had to do. Not necessarily the ethics that they use behind the scenes, because I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but the fact that, between them, Charles Band, Roger Corman, there's only 2 or 3 kind of independent movie houses still going, you know what I mean, and still belting out stuff. And, Lloyd is this wonderful kind of carnival barker type who's bringing everyone to the party. And I like the fact that when they had $3 million to spend, instead of saying, well, what we want to do is break into Hollywood, so let's make the most Hollywood movie we can, we're going to get rid of the nudity, we're going to ramp up the violence, we're going to maybe hire a professional actor or 2, we're going to, we're not going to have a pig-faced man in it, we're not going to have subjects like rape and AIDS and other subjects that are in this movie, we're not going to have you call it. It's the politically incorrect stuff, but it ends up in a very nice twist, being a bit of social commentary, or what did you call it?
Yeah, it is. It's the social commentary. It's the political view of the time.
Really
so
bright.
at the time, AIDS was starting to become a big thing, but no one really knew a lot about it. This was.
Well, no, that's what you call the social satire.
Yeah.
Rather. So in other words, the movie on the surface, and I'm sure that like Lloyd is well known as playing the dirty uncle character, but on the surface there is sort of this inherent kind of slightly ugly 80s sexism in it. But then actually that's kind of flipped on its head by the end of the movie, and there's a little nod to maybe women shouldn't be kept down the way that they were being at the beginning of the movie. And no, it's not making any grand feminist statements.
No.
But it's having its cake and eating it too. But there is something there. There's clearly something written into it about feminism and about abuse and various other stuff that's in there that is, again, part of the TromaÄ ethos, and that if you were going to go full Hollywood, you just wouldn't have that in there. You just wouldn't. You take it all out. So what I like that they saved up $3 million and they went, but we're still going to make a TromaÄ movie.
Yeah,
right? That's what I like.
But how in their defense, to anyone that would want to attack them for saying, well, why would you do that? In their defense, for 15 years at this point, when this movie was filmed, for 15 years they've been doing pretty much the same style over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And although it wasn't wildly successful, it was successful enough for them to raise $3 million to do this film.
Right.
So why would they completely change 100%?
And for this not to bankrupt them either when it was a failure, if you look at Francis Ford Coppola, he opened Zoetrope Studios, and he spends considerably more than $3 million on... I just have to stop for a second, and just to point out to Matt Farley, if he's listening, and I know Matt Farley is listening, that they're playing Ram on the speakers here at the New Hampshire diner that we're eating in. They are playing Ram. Most specifically, what is this one? No, it's not Ram, sorry, it's Band on the Run. It's Mrs. Vanderbilt from Band on the Run. So they're playing McCartney anyway, because he was recently on a podcast. So they're playing Mrs. Vanderbilt from Band on the Run, which I couldn't be happy about, because it means that Matt Farley is with us in spirit.
That's right.
When McCartney is playing early 70s McCartney, it means Matt Farley is somewhere in the vicinity.
The spirit is with us.
But what was he saying about the... so when someone like Francis Ford Coppola does One from the Heart with Zoetrope Studios, he's got The Godfather behind him, he's got Apocalypse Now behind him, he's made a lot of money, so he's like, okay, I'm going to put my own financing into a film, and it utterly bankrupts him, like it utterly cripples him. So, I mean, you can at least say that at least that doesn't happen here. You know what I mean? They just go back to making Toxie 3 or whatever it was that they went on and made up.
They go back to spending $10,000 on a movie, and it is what it is.
Making Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD.
Brilliant movie.
Which is fantastic. Well, the trailer alone should be in an art museum, because the trailer alone is just hilarious for that movie. But so yeah, War. What else did I like about it? Well, I thought, the action was well done, well shot. Yeah. I mean, it's not as sort of coordinated as a Hollywood thing would be. You can't quite tell what's going on most of the time. It's a lot of get 15 people with blood packs to run over there, stand in a line, the blood packs explode and they all fall down.
Right.
Then let's cut to someone firing a gun. Then let's cut to someone running over a hill. Like, it's that kind of cut. It's not, like, there's no integration there.
No. And a lot of times what'll happen, you'll be confused as, all right, well, why is this happening? And after it all, after all the dust settles, then they'll explain, like, oh, well, that was the bad guy. Oh, okay.
Almost like the screenwriter or the continuity person on set watched the first 5 scenes and went, no, wait a minute, we've got to explain why everyone just fell over.
Right.
And then you'll cut to a character who went, what's going on? And then you see, like, people run in. So, yeah, it's that was amusing. But you get there's a seemingly alive snake in this movie. There's lots of explosions which are fun. There's a whole plane crash at the beginning, looked pretty good. I mean, it's not lost, but it looked pretty good. It was burning wreckage,
and pieces and fragments and people, bodies everywhere, and
you see a priest's tongue ripped out in this one.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
You don't get the...
I liked him. He was like defiant, even in the face of horror.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
You don't get the stereotypical Troma head crunch in this movie. I don't think they had started that tradition yet of the head crunch, the squishing of the head, but they did rip out the guy's tongue.
Which, by the way, if you're a fan of the head squish, I thoroughly recommend Leo Fong's Low Blow, in which he infiltrates a Jonestown-style cult, and at the very end you think he's going to punch someone, and you see him like rear back with his karate punch. He puts his fist out of frame, but then it cuts to the frame of the person's head, and his shoe comes down on the person's head, crushing it like an unripe pumpkin, crushing it like a moldy pumpkin.
A rotten pumpkin.
Which is just the best thing I've ever seen in my life, because you think the fist, then it's the foot. I mean, it's the worst continuity ever, but you do see a person's face mashed like a pumpkin, which is fun. Also, in a movie in which there's no gore, it's like the one.
So it's out of context.
It's completely out of context. It's like they've edited in a shot from a completely different film.
Yeah,
it's kind of glorious. And Leo Fong himself is like 85, creaky, old, incapable.
And that's the train. That's our friend, the Conway Scenic Railroad,
which I can highly recommend. Anyone coming up to Conway, New Hampshire, take the Scenic Railroad.
Yeah, I think they're taking off soon.
And be sure to eat in the Stairway
Cafe.
Stairway Cafe. That's it. Because she's buying a stairway to heaven. This is heavenly right here.
This is heaven.
It's St. Peter blowing his horn and everything.
The best part about this
Gabriel
place...
blows his horn, right? St. Peter doesn't blow anything.
Well, listen, what Peter does in his own time is his own business. I'm not one to judge, John.
More coffee for you?
Yes, please.
And would you like more hot water?
That would be amazing. Thanks so much. Very kind. Thank you.
I think the aside from the food and the staff and the cafe itself, the best part has to be our view right now. We're literally staring at the White Mountains. I mean, our view. We're not in front of a window. We're outside.
We're actually outside.
Yeah, on the patio area.
Terrace, veranda, call it what you will.
Yeah.
Many names, but nothing really sums up the beauty of.
No, that's right.
And I like that, because when you were saying that, you went into a radio voice. You had your Jay Mayo radio voice. You were like, we are literally sitting in front of the White Mountains, ladies and gentlemen. I like that a lot.
And I apologize for doing radio voice.
No, I like radio voice.
Unintentionally doing
I like Jay Mayo radio voice. That's what I want to listen to the rest of the day. As if you had some NPR station of your own. That you
We're working on that.
Yeah. And it's Jay Mayo in the afternoon. That would be amazing.
Still driving the Corolla. Driving the Corolla through New England.
Right.
It's because Toyotas rust out before the motor dies.
That's some insight right there.
That's right.
Change your car, Jay. So, I mean, not lots to talk about, but I mean, I would definitely recommend it. I would definitely say that people should rush out and see this.
Yeah, you know, when we decided that this is a movie that we were going to watch, I brought up the fact that this is probably the most and least Troma movie that Troma has ever made. So that seems contradictory.
Be warned, there is a subplot that is very Troma
Right.
and may offend some people. Didn't
Sure.
offend me, but may offend some.
Sure. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you don't want to see a ton of
Violence,
and a ton of, over the top
abuse, and
then this probably isn't the movie for you. However, in the grand scheme of Troma movies that Troma makes, not a Troma team release,
Here's your hot water.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
this isn't that bad on the scale of 1 to 10 in as far as Troma's gratuitous use of violence and nudity.
No, yeah, I mean, I would say
gore.
if you like B movies, if you like action movies, and if you've ever even remotely seen a Troma release and been interested in it, then this would definitely be one of the better ones.
Sure.
And I think that's what I've always found, is that Troma tends to fall into the category of great title, shame about the movie. We were talking last night about Nymphoid Barbarian and Dinosaur Hell. That's a prime example. It's got this great title, but she's neither barbarian nor nymphonic at any point in the film whatsoever. Right. If she was, it would be a great movie because it's got fantastic stop motion effects and some really nice sort of pre-world kind of shooting and stuff like that. But pre-apocalyptic, I don't know what it is. It's sort of anyway. On Surf Nazis Must Die, which is great, but it's also, it's also schlocky and awful at the same time.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's probably the most racist movie.
Right.
Like, outside of movies that have to do directly with the Holocaust and neo-Nazis and things like that, like, this is probably the most racist movie, but it's also kind of great at the same time, not because of the racism, obviously, but like
you
the
a
plot.
Secret racist Jay Mayo.
Yes, I am. This is one of those times where using comedy improv does not work out to your favor, because now I have to say yes and. But no, Surf Nazis Must Die has a great plot to it outside of the vapid racism.
Right. But it's also one of those movies where, you think of the title Surf Nazis Must Die and you think, oh my god, that's probably an amazing movie. And you watch it and you're let down a little bit just because the title is so good.
Right.
Now, if you're an old Troma hound and you're aware of what they make, you won't let down at all because you're like, I want to bathe in the thing that is Troma, and you get that. Okay, that is an amazing car that just drove by. Look at that. That's incredible. Beautiful. Classic car out here on this sunny Saturday morning. Welcome to John and Jay's Balcony Observations, NPR.
And there goes another car.
I don't even have the ability to tell you what kind of classic car it was because I literally have no information on it whatsoever.
It was maroon and it had white racing stripes.
But no, this one worked for me because while I've seen a lot of Troma, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not a denier, but I'm not the biggest fan either. And I like action movies, and I like 80s B-movie action movies. So this was like one of my favorites because it had a bit of everything.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of everything. For people that are real sticklers about continuity and accuracy
and plot,
and this is going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
As someone like if you're the kind of person that goes on,
they're now playing ELO for Mark McDonald.
Yeah,
so.
they are. If you're one of these people that goes on the what is the website? It's not IMDb. There's an extra letter in it for guns. There's a whole website that's dedicated to the history of firearms in movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like...
All right, guys.
Okay.
Let's see. Game sausages over here. Scrambled eggs.
I believe that they're right
No,
here.
that's
Who's got the scrambled with beans?
me?
All right,
Thank
here
you.
we are. Enjoy.
Thank you.
I'm having elk, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time.
Welcome to manliness, John.
Oh, sir, please. Last night I ate half a duck.
You did.
That was pretty manly of me.
With his hands.
With my hands, no less. I throttled it to death. I sliced it in half with a machete.
Yeah. Tromas War style.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we didn't mention that. There are Siamese twins in this movie attached by the face.
By the face.
And, of course, they're evil Siamese twins.
And my mom.
They seem to be...
She's got this like.
Although, and once again, it's never explained throughout the movie, they seem to be the ones that are in charge of everything. Although there is like a leader of the terrorists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's pointing at the sausage.
Ladies and gentlemen, elk sausage is the bomb.
Yeah. As is this wild boar sausage.
Wild boar. You see, you get the word wild in your sausage.
That's right.
I'm going to call mine wild elk sausage just from now on.
Okay. It might be farm raised, but hey, we'll assume.
I'm going to assume it's wild elk, and that these fine ladies at the serving establishment went out and killed it themselves.
This morning.
I don't want to talk about this thing anymore.
At the crack of dawn. Knowing that you were going to come here today to get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is yet another weird subplot where there is Siamese twins that seem to be the masterminds of this whole terrorist plot.
Right.
Although it's never explained. And because they are terrorists from around the world, the perceived leader seems to be German or something.
Well, he leads one little group, and Piggy Face leads another little group.
Right. And Pig Face.
It's just when you think they've got rid of all the bad guys, there's this other sect of bad guys they have to go get.
And then they also talk about the Cuban army being involved somehow, although you never see any of the Cuban army.
Cubans don't show up at all.
Yeah. I think the only part of that actually came to fruition was that the Cubans dropped off the boat that the terrorists were going to take to America to infiltrate.
The smallest boat ever, and they packed it with like 100 people.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a small fishing boat.
With 50 aerials on top, I suppose to try and make it look militaristic, but failed miserably.
So, there's several. You never really know who's in charge, or why, or how. And there's so many different kinds of people, once again, because all these terrorists are supposed to be from around the world. So there's South American terrorists, there's African terrorists, supposedly there's Middle Eastern terrorists, although you don't see any.
No.
And there's plenty of.
There's a fat guy with a beard.
Yeah. So I don't know what that guy was supposed to be. Maybe he was with the pig face guy, because the pig face guy had a southern accent.
Yeah, he was American. Yeah.
So I don't know what.
And he was a terrorist against America.
Yeah.
Which seemed odd because he also seemed very like, a patriotic American type. I mean, none of that made any sense. But you even got the Ellis from Die Hard character, the Wall Street banker in a suit type guy, who thought that he was negotiating for the finishing of this situation by going over there and offering them lots of money.
Right.
Also because he was a big coward. And instead, of course, all hell broke loose. There was no negotiating this to finish.
Nope.
The only way this could end is if everybody died.
Yeah. As any good Troma movie would have it.
Yeah.
And I interrupt this podcast just to let you know, if you're enjoying this and the conversation Jay and I are having, and you want to hear more about our New England adventures this weekend just gone, check out the Moton Media Infomercial podcast over at iTunes or TalkShoe or at motonmedia.com. That's MOTERNMEDIA.com, where we sit down with Matt Farley, who is Mr. Moton Media himself, and discuss all sorts of things, as well as fill in the story of our road trip this weekend, but also a whole handful of other stuff, and play 2 completely new compositions that the 3 of us wrote. It's a fantastic podcast. It's over at motonmedia.com. It's the Moton Media Infomercial Podcast, and I urge everyone listening to this to go listen to that directly after this. Also, don't forget to check out my brand new 10-track album, Bad Time Banjolele, over at miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. That's MISC plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, or you can also find it on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Google Play, all over the place. That is Bad Time Banjolele. It's an absolutely fantastic album, all the proceeds of which go towards the After Movie Diner Tour 2016. That is the diner coming to a town near you. So please, please, please do go over, either stream it on Spotify or buy it off Bandcamp. Thanks so much, and now back to the show.
One of the best jokes, and it's a very obvious joke, but there's a woman blinded at the beginning of the movie from the plane crash. She comes out of the plane crash and she's been blinded. And she has a rather touching sort of love affair with a purposely ugly guy. Like, he's this like big slobby guy with a big gut and a, you know, old man face and all the rest of it. But because she's blind, she thinks he's amazing because he helped her out a couple of times, right?
Yeah, like it's like.
Yeah, he sort of led her through the woods. Because obviously she can't see.
Right. So she falls in love with him very quickly. And in fact, she gives one of the best performances when you think he's died at the end of the movie. She's like, I can't live without him. I can't live without him. It's like really touching.
Yeah.
I found it so anyway. Like, she was crying and I can't live without him. And I thought it was very touching because it was one of those that it started off as a joke, like, oh, pretty woman with the ugly guy and blah, 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 because she's blind, ha, ha, ha. And it actually turned into this touching thing. And then, of course, at the end, when he shows back up, and I'm not spoiling anything because it's Tromas War, who cares? But he's the one that heroically drives the truck into the boat with a hand grenade on the truck and blows everything up.
Right.
Again, considering they have rocket launchers and grenades and everything else, they could have just thrown all that at the boat. It was a bit weird, but
There's all these like areas where
you have to have your big stunt at the end, so we'll go with that. When he emerges, having survived this ludicrous ordeal, she goes running up to him, oh my God, you're alive, you're alive. And of course, because she's blind, misses him completely, hits something and falls over, which I know is an obvious gag, but I was like, yeah, you know,
That was the laugh out loud
fantastic.
moment.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Certainly, yeah, she goes to run right towards him. Somehow she misses all the things that are lying on the ground.
Right.
She's able to maneuver her way through that, misses him by about 1.5 feet, and then trips over a gun turret.
Yeah, but she did it with gusto in the sense that, you know, if you could see, as an actor, if you could see, it would be very difficult to just run into something without stopping yourself, because obviously that's your reflexes.
And she just did it. She went for it.
She did it very well, and it had me laughing out loud. And look, Python weren't above a blind joke like they did the I'm blind and now I can see in Life of Brian, and he falls into the pit. So if it's good enough for Monty Python, it's good enough for TromaÃ. That's my feeling.
That's very true. I mean, there were other less than subtle jokes throughout the movie. At one point, one of the characters gets bit in the upper thigh by a snake,
right?
And one of the other characters,
male,
a male character, has to suck out the poison. Of course, they're isolated, but just as soon as he starts to suck out the poison, everybody happens to show up. Like, hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
with his head in her lap, obviously.
Right.
You know, there's
well, if you look at
jokes like that throughout.
When I watched the first Toxie movie years ago, it struck me very much that Lloyd must be a big fan of Mel Brooks, because there's a lot of sort of like, I'm thinking of like the mayor and stuff and all that in Toxic Avenger. It's a lot like the mayor in Blazing Saddles, or the mayor in all the characters in Young Frankenstein or whatever. There's a lot of that. You know, ridiculous authority figures being a bit ludicrous, as there is in Mel Brooks. It has that kind of style. And, you know, the sucking out the poison or whatever, Woody Allen did that joke in Bananas, where he goes to the South American Revolutionary film that he did, where a woman runs through the jungle clutching her breast going, I've been bitten by a snake, I've been bitten by a snake, and then like 50 guys run after her.
Sure. But that's just another nod to the TromaÄ style.
That's what
it
I
wouldn't
mean,
be
right.
a TromaÄ movie unless there was something, you know, over the top like that.
Right. And I'm not against that. Like, that's the bit that I really like.
Right. And this is where they take a $3 million, Commando movie,
right,
and they throw in their TromaÄ twist with, you know, the snake bite gag and the blind girl falling down gag. And
so UJ is a God. This elk sausage is good. My God, it's good. So. UJ is an ex-military type of veteran.
Yep.
If you don't mind me announcing that on the show.
Not at all.
And thank you very much, by the way, for your service.
I did it all for you, John.
Yeah, you did. You didn't even know me or meet me at the time, and it wasn't even for my country, but well done. I just feel like I have to say that because that's important. You are a weapons expert, or you know about weapons, right?
Yeah, I was in the firearms industry for about a decade.
Look at that right there, firearms industry. You're like Nick Cage in God of War, whatever, Lord of War, whatever that movie was. No, because he was a gun runner. He was like a smug. No, you weren't in that, were you?
No.
No.
I'm very legal.
You're very legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you know about it. You were amused that throughout the movie there was a multitude of different types of ordnance. Is that what they call it?
Sure. The thing that really struck me, again, if you're one of these people that's into continuity and things like that, this movie's going to drive you insane.
Right.
The plot of the movie is that they take terrorists from around the world and put them together. So I understand the plot. So, of course, if you're a terrorist, you're probably going to bring your weapons with you that you know and use and have.
Right.
As a movie, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
Because they never, everybody's got a different type of gun.
Right.
Which, to follow the plot, that makes sense. The American people have M14s, M16s, M2s.
We're getting technical here on the afternoon.
Right, so things that the American military would have.
Right.
Those style weapons. And then, of course, there's, AK-47s from Russia, and there's Tokarev pistols, and there's all kinds of
Which weirdly
Soviet
the
weapons.
A-Team used AK-47.
Yeah.
And the A-Team.
So
They had those cool ones with the, like, shiny metal barrels, but the wood and the wooden end.
Yeah. The buttstock. So,
Right.
I mean, throughout this movie, there's so many different styles and types of weapons that it wouldn't make sense if you were to start a terrorist organization.
Right.
Where everyone was going to be on the same page. It wouldn't make sense for you to have all this plethora of different styles. And
Well, they only seem to have one type of ammo. That's what
right.
bothered.
So the thing that bothered me was that several times throughout the movie you see cases that just say ammo on the side. And,
Right.
even the good guys, the plane crash victims that are going and trying to stop these terrorists, they're all picking up different weapons, yet they all seem to be loading the same type of ammunition,
Right.
carrying one type. It's factually impossible
Right.
to take pistol ammo and put it into 4 different types of rifle.
There was also that scene that bothered you where he pulled out the clip of a machine gun and looked just in the top of
Just
it.
looked at it and said, "You didn't fire any."
You didn't fire anything. Well, of course, it's spring mounted, right? So that
Right,
you
there's-
push the bullets down. Even I know this.
Right. There was no way for the technical side of this movie is so far off.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Which didn't bother me at all.
Right.
They might as well have been holding sticks and going bang bang for like.
Of course, the suspension of reality has to be they're going to pull the trigger 1,000 times and not have to reload. That's
Right.
every shoot 'em up movie in the history of film.
Except when the hero has to go, I'm out.
Right.
Right.
So of course, this movie is just the same as any other movie where everybody has a machine gun and they're all just firing hundreds of thousands of rounds without having to reload. I get that, but
Is she waving at us? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
Probably.
Yeah,
She was just a wavy type, which is good.
it's another fun part about being out here on the veranda. So technically, this movie is impossible. And then the other thing that bothered me was the choice of weapons and how they used them. Mm-hmm. They clearly had grenades and rocket launchers. They had RPGs. They had 2 individual bazookas.
Right.
So there was one scene where they take these,
So the plan was they were going to get a one-armed man to put a grenade in his mouth and drive a truck into a boat.
right to blow up all the terrorists to prevent them from going to the United States and taking over and hurting all the people in the United States,
Right.
which makes sense. Okay, except they have RPGs and they have bazookas and they have hand grenades. And in one scene, they take their bazookas and they shoot out people that are standing in a tower.
Right.
Instead of turning 2 feet to the right and shooting the boat full of
Right.
terrorists. So now it's no longer a kamikaze mission for this one armed guy with the grenade in his teeth.
Right.
So like their choice of weaponry and how they used them kind of baffled me from a technical standpoint. Being someone that was in the military, it just seems like
Right.
use your weaponry as smart as possible. Not, don't just everyone just start firing for no reason and just running around and scattered or
Except in
whatever.
this movie, there was a scene where a guy got shot about 750 times and lived.
Right.
Well, for a little bit.
Sort of.
Now look at that.
Nice.
Look
That's an old
at
Cadillac.
That. That is an enormous old Cadillac.
That's a 1970s Cadillac. What color would you call that? Like a pale light
It's
green?
like a pale olive green.
Yeah,
Isn't
a nice Cadillac convertible.
it? And a metallic olive green.
Yeah, very nice. Welcome back to John and Jay's Classic Car Observationalist podcast.
This is great, dude. I'm having such a ball. This is like my favorite thing I've ever done. So, because the movie is so secondary, but we're talking about it in such serious terms.
Yeah.
And then occasionally a car goes by, we're like, oh, a car.
We're talking about the tow truck that's going by also, or wow,
No.
it looks like a 2013 Ford F-350 tow truck. Real nice. Got
I just feel like this is all America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what I love about it.
this is the live free or die state, my man. This is what
Damn
it's
right
all
it
about.
is. And I am living free right here, Jay.
We are living the freest.
I've eaten elk,
Yeah.
right? And when you've eaten elk, there isn't any freer you can get.
This is very true. This is very true. I feel the hair on my chest growing as we speak.
It's the freest of all the meats. And what's lovely is that there's a darling old couple sat on a bench on one end underneath the shade of a tree. That's their Saturday.
You're just hanging out.
They're just hanging out, man.
You're just in the mountains, just taking it all in.
Yeah. We've got some bikers, lots of bikers up here because they're living free.
Yeah. No helmets.
Look at her. She's on the back of the... Yeah.
Yeah, we almost had a little accident here. That guy got a little close to the other guy.
He's like an old kick-ass dude.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm in my mid-50s, I got a bike. And then she's like this slightly more sexy kind of type on the back of the bike. She's like, I'm hanging with the bikers, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, she is. The live free or die state does not have a helmet law, so you'll see most of the people around here do not wear helmets when they ride their motorcycles.
But there's
That's just-
one guy down there wearing a ski jacket and a backpack, and it's got to be 85 degrees today.
Yeah. Maybe he drives really fast and it's necessary to keep himself warm. Although he is also wearing shorts, so that it's kind of contrary to that
Well,
theory.
He's keeping his junk cool
This-
because the air must blow up those shorts. Something
Yeah.
wrong.
Your armpits can sweat, that's fine. But if your balls sweat,
Nobody wants the sweaty balls.
No.
This is a great show. We should host a show from here every Saturday. Hello and welcome to yet again a look at the road.
this is the observation podcast from the Stairway Cafe's veranda.
Now,
Now,
nobody knows what we're talking about, but I'm sure they're loving it. Everyone has left the veranda. We've cleared the veranda.
Yeah. The gentleman sitting next to us seemed interested in what we were talking about. However, they did not seem so interested that they wanted to be a part of this conversation.
Right. They could have done. I would have been happy with that.
I would have also. Let me tell you,
They didn't say goodbye though, so
jerks. Let me tell you that this wild boar sausage
it's
holds
the
up.
business.
Yeah. I've saved an extra piece. Would you like to try it?
Really, sir?
Absolutely.
I don't want to take you.
No,
you
no,
only
no.
have the one
Listen,
sausage. So.
listen. I've already had 3/4 of this sausage.
Are you sure, my
I've
friend?
eaten wild boar before.
But I didn't give you any of my elk.
It's
now
okay.
I feel bad.
We are literally going to go to the store to our right. We can see from here with the yellow sign, and we're going to buy more wild meat products.
For the barbecue tonight.
No. This is just going to be for us for our little trip today.
Oh, okay.
We're going to buy some.
Oh, the jerky.
We're going to buy some wild animal jerky. So please have at it.
Thank you. We are. That's what we're going to have for lunch. We're going to have wild animal jerky.
Yeah.
I'm living free, dude.
We're living the most free.
And I will die the fuck hard when I die.
That's right.
And I'm talking about my penis.
We're living the most free today.
Oh my god, that is good wild boar.
Right? Mm-hmm. It was wild boar with cranberry and I believe white wine.
I can almost feel the hands round the neck choking the boar to death as I ate that.
Yeah. I feel bad for these ladies for having to do that every morning. But
I feel bad for them. The animals I couldn't give a shit about,
Yeah.
but I feel
I feel bad. I mean, it must take an emotional toll on them, but
Yeah.
it is very
they're
much
strong
worth
though,
it.
man. The New Hampshire breeds them strong.
That's right. You know, they look kind of dainty and petite, but don't let that fool you. Do not let that fool you. Very strong hands.
Don't let that fool you.
No, very strong
Dainty and
hands.
petite, that's how I put it.
Yeah. We get a lot of passerbyers here. We're getting a lot of
Looky-loos?
We're getting a lot of looky-loos. This is one of my favorite things to do is just people watching.
Yeah.
They don't. I guarantee you, most of these people don't even know we're up here.
No, that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. Yeah. As sarcastic as I am, it's probably a good thing they don't know that I'm up here talking about them.
So, just to wrap it up then, if you're a fan of B-movies, a fan of action movies, and you want to see a Troma movie that's most definitely a Troma movie, but isn't so Troma that it might put you off, I would definitely check out Tromas War.
Yeah, it's a great
available on YouTube, right? Free.
Yeah, you can get it on YouTube. You can go on Troma's website.
I'll do my best, guys.
All right.
Ooh, hey.
Hey.
Just so you're not waiting on me.
All right.
That's yours. Absolutely no rush.
Appreciate it. Thank
It
you.
was delicious and delightful. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That was like a mad bum rush for the door all at once.
No, that was great.
These are ours.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
I worried if we had cleaned the place out, if we had bothered people so much. What I like about these is you've got binoculars, which are, used for like looking long distances and maybe looking secretly, but then you've attached two large bells to them, so there is no stealth use of these binoculars.
That's because they've stolen 3 pairs from us.
You're kidding me?
No, and they're not cheap.
Of course not. These are like great Bushnell, off-trail, high-grade binoculars.
And you can, especially in the fall and stuff, you can see the people on the cliffs, rock climbing and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
Let's spy on some people.
That's
right.
awesome.
I like to call them judgmental breakfasts.
As if people watching just with our own eyes wasn't fun enough.
Yeah.
Now I can get right up in their faces.
Yeah, in
That's
full
right.
detail.
Now you can see like if they trim their nose hairs today or...
Yeah.
That's important to me. I need to know that on a daily basis.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So when I look up, I can usually tell. Unlike tall people who are like, oh, you need some dandruff control.
Yeah.
Say, I look up their nose, you look down.
I like that you're creeping out people with these binoculars now.
Oh, I'm definitely creeping people out with this. I'm looking at all sorts of stuff up here. You wouldn't believe what's going on in that building, but it's filthy. Filthy.
The difference between you and I is like, you're like, oh, let's look at the mountain. I'd be like, let's just look straight down.
What,
Let's
at
see-
people?
Yeah, let's just look at the people walking by. Let's see how uncomfortably close we can get to the people walking by.
That makes me feel a little too creepy. Though.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you can have a look through there when you're done eating, sir. But that was a mighty fine breakfast.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. It was a lovely, delicious breakfast.
Sure.
The amount of free living going on around here, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
You can't move for free living in the summer months. But Jay, this has been an absolute fantastic episode of the After Movie Diner. What a
Work
treat!
down that way.
Yeah.
Can the kids
This has
sit
been,
down
this
there?
has been great.
And it's the first of many that I will be doing on location, I hope, over the next few years, because the whole plan is to take the After Movie Diner on location and have
That's
breakfast
all I
in places
have. 'Cause we
such
try
as
and
the
bunch
White
them together
Mountains,
so it doesn't chop up
where
the
you
whole
eat such
thing.
things as
Otherwise,
wild
if you
elk.
want to wait,
Well, I'm glad I could help
walk and come
facilitate
back
this.
inside.
It's been amazing, sir. Who knew? At the beginning of last week, I had no idea.
Spur of the moment trips are always the best trips.
And how easy has this been?
Oh, this was, other than your terrible bus ride to
Right.
get from New York to Boston.
Here I am, sat in New Hampshire the next day.
Yeah.
As if nothing had happened. Great motel last night.
Yeah.
I thought it was very nice.
Yeah, we had a good time. We had a
Slept
good,
like a log. We wrote 2 songs.
we had a great dinner on our way up, and
Oh, yeah. Alpha Duck. But no, thank you, Jay. This has been a real treat.
oh, thank you for coming all the way up.
If not for the listeners, then definitely for me. I think the listeners are going to love it too.
I think so as
I
well.
think they've learned things about classic cars that they didn't know beforehand. Classic cars and guns. That's really what they've
Yeah.
learned about on this
Yeah,
podcast.
That's what all podcasts should be about, John.
Yes. In man world,
That's right. Up here in the live free or die state,
we're living free, we're dying hard, and we're talking guns and classic cars.
and wild animals.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Jay Mayo and John Cross for the After Movie Diner. So this weekend's road trip wasn't just about an awesome whirlwind trip to 3 great states of New England. or to hang out with the exceptional Jay Mayo. It was also a creative weekend. Jay and I wrote some songs, and also we then met up with Moten Media's own Matt Farley and wrote 2 more songs. We also made music videos and all sorts of things. So please do keep a lookout on our YouTube page and on Facebook and all over the place. Don't worry. If you follow the After Movie Diner on Facebook, you will be able to see all this stuff as I get it edited and put up. But what I want to present to end this week's episode is a song that Jay and I recorded in a car by the side of a lake with the sun beating down and trucks whizzing past, with Jay on tambourine and kazoo and shaker and me on banjolele in the passenger seat. I actually wrote it on my iPhone 6 as we were driving along. Jay was obviously driving. So that's the song that's coming up. It's a bit of a fun little ditty all around New Hampshire's motto, which is live free or die. So without further ado, here is that song. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Take care and come back next week when, as always, we'll have more movies, more chat, more diner, and more fun. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're living free, the only way we know how. A handful of meats and matching hats. This is the way to spend a weekend, going back to where it all began. Freiburg, Maine, New England, we're a pair of country cats. Yeah, we are, we're a pair of country cats. And we're living free, nothing's ever gonna stop us. A canopy of sherbet, green trees shows us the way. Crack tarmac under our free wheels. We're ignoring speed limits and ignoring all the voices on this free New England day. Well, living free is the only way to live free. This free living is only giving us the freedom to live free. We got the freedom to live free. Well, not even gonna think of dying, no. We just can't die, cause that's how free we're living. We're free living guys. Oh, take it away, Jay. A tip of the cap to Jimmy Buffett, I'm saying, one for the road, and it's all a lake bound for the school blue waters, little mountain country pizza. The summer couldn't get any better, living free with no heavy load. No, 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 no heavy load. We ain't got no heavy load, cause we're living free, and that's the only way to live free. This free living is only giving us the freedom to live free. We got the freedom to live free. Well, we're not even gonna think of dying, no. Me and Jay just can't die, cause that's how free we're living. We are free living guys. Sing it, Jay, come on. Whoop, 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 living. Whoop, 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 we're living. Whoop, 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 we're living free. Well, whoop, 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 we're living. Whoop, 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 we're living. Whoop, 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 we're living free. Now, if that wasn't the greatest song ever recorded in a car in the history of the world, I don't know what is.